Really? No countdown? Are you looking to start a meal plan company for only $500, or are you at least curious to learn how I would do it? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to cover in this video. Now, who am I? My name is Casey Cochran. I'm joined here with Kali and Carrie, and I am the proud co-founder of Fit Food Fresh. We are Florida's highest rated meal plan company. We started it with nothing. When I say me, I mean my business partner Steven Kaiser and I 6 years ago started this with nothing. No experience, no money, no network. I'm not a cook. You don't want me cooking for you. He could kind of make by, but you don't want him cooking for you either, at least not in mass quantity. So how did we do it? Well, I'm going to cover that, and I've been covering that in different videos, so check those out. This video is specifically going to discuss the materials that you're going to be needing. A lot of things that people don't consider when they're new to the meal plan industry, and there's just different variables that you're going to come across that are unique to this industry, and it being so novel. Like I said, a lot of people just don't see it coming, and without proper planning and without seeing around the corner just a little bit and be able to predict some stuff that maybe might not be obvious, you could definitely put yourself ahead of the game. And I'll share my scars, my tips, my tricks, and the different lessons that we've learned with you in these videos and others, along with my business partner Steven. He'll be joining me in these videos as well. So here's a scenario: $500, and we are starting a meal plan company. Now, with materials, we're going to want to keep it as sparse as possible. If you look at the sales and the production videos, you'll see how I can basically have you profitable your first week and really not even touching that $500. So definitely check those out. And assuming that we are able to not touch that $500, or maybe we had to touch that $500, we're still not going to want to dig into it if we don't have to. So let's forego any unnecessary expenses. So what are those? Anything that doesn't have to do with getting money in the door. I should say that. I was going to say anything that has to do with list of marketing and yada yada yada, but the bottom line is, if it's not directly bringing money in the door and you can't point to me and show me exactly how it's going to bring money in the door, don't do it. Example, logos. Go to Fiverr. Go to Fiverr.com, Fiverr with 2 R's, Fiverr.com. Everybody knows about it. If not, I guess I'll put a link if it's necessary. But go to Fiverr, and people will do that for $5. They'll bang out a logo. Will it be the best logo? Will it be what you have in mind? No, but it'll be good enough. And honestly, you don't even need a logo, but the only reason that you're going to get a logo is because I can't argue against getting a cheap round of business cards. And if you're going to get some business cards, at least make it look presentable, and don't go with the BS cookie cutter stuff and the logos when you can just tell. I don't know, maybe they have better logos these days. I should probably have looked at that before getting into it, but maybe assess the logos first. If they look like they're just cookie cutter, and it doesn't have to be custom, don't worry about putting your initials in the logo or any stupid stuff like that, because sometimes, a lot of times, most of the time, if it's not done right, it looks more Bush League than getting a stock. I'd rather you have a wingding than try to force your initials in there. It's hard to pull off initials, so don't bother doing any monikers or anything like that. I don't love our logo. We don't love our logo. We just did it. We just grabbed it from something. It's somebody else's. The original one was, and then we kind of revamped it. The one on the wall is the original one. The one on this shirt is a little bit newer. It just has a little bit of a italicized look. If you could italicize an image, that's basically how I described the change. And that's the update we've done in 6 years. And guess what? Nobody's ever quit because of our logo, and nobody's ever signed up because our logo. A lot of people don't know what it is. Is it a cloud? Is it a chef hat? I don't know. It kind of looks like a Super Mario chef hat, but I digress. Logos aren't important, all right? Having your name in a decent font would be fine. Logos are sometimes cliche, so I think I've drilled it into your head. Don't waste time on a logo. If you spend more than $5 on a logo, you're an idiot. And take that hand and smack yourself with it. Also, utilize Upwork. If you have to do any graphic design, maybe you're not really restricted to the $500, but you're still on a budget, Upwork is your friend. I'm try to put that in the show notes as well, or in the description, or whatever it's called. But the bottom line is, logos and all that ego stuff is not going to bring money in your door, so don't bother wasting time. Now, what, Casey, do I have to spend my money on? Thanks for saving me money on this unnecessary stuff. Now what do I get to spend it on? Well, there's going to be some very necessary things. With some stuff, good is good enough, leave that for the aesthetics. When it comes down to safety, especially your client's safety, food safety, and things like that, you cannot be skimping. So cold chain stuff, which is obviously cold packs and the insulated cooler bags, and then also your containers. The whole rigmarole, the whole gambit that makes this business different is restaurants and catering companies and everybody else who's supplying food, they're not worrying about this next leg where you have to cool the food down and plate it and have a container that's not a to-go container. It's made to withstand the delivery, and you have to have the cold element. So first of all, cold packs. The bigger the pack, I'm not going to get into thermodynamics. I dropped out of high school, never graduated college, but I did graduate the fire academy and EMT, and I was a firefighter for a little bit. But anyway, I learned a little bit about thermodynamics, which is fun because I actually get to use it in this very briefly. But basically, the bigger the cube, the longer it's going to take to melt, because the surface area versus the cold element is going to be in your favor. So the bigger it is, the better. Smaller, worse. Just think about how fast those small ice cubes, that kind of shaved ice, almost kind of ice, the awesome ice that it's very rare to ever find, but it's the best type of ice for your soda. Not that we drink sodas because we're in the health industry, but that ice, knows how fast it melts, but it's so good. It's because of all the surface area. So the surface area coming in contact with the air, even though it's in a pack and it's sealed in the little the bag or whatever the pack is, little plastic PVC material, it's still coming in contact, and the more cold element that you have deep down there staying cold and not in contact, so the bigger it is and the further it is in that core, it's going to stay colder and colder, the longer it's going to last. So go for the bigger packs, not obnoxiously large, but and it's going to depend on your bag. So I was going to show you ours, but honestly I don't want you to buy specifically ours, and I'll definitely tell you which ones we use, and I'll include that as well, but I don't want you to think that those are the best, because given your circumstances and a bunch of other things, you might be able to get away with the smaller ones, or you might need the smaller ones given how big your bags are. You also have specific bags that not a lot of people start with. That's the next thing I will start or discuss. Bags. The thicker the better, but in the beginning you can get by with, sometimes I don't even think it'd be cost effective. I know in emergencies we would have to get those shiny, big, they almost look like, they feel kind of like plastic, but kind of like aluminum foil, but they're big shiny bags, just big shiny insulated cooler bags that you'll see. I guess maybe Home Depot would see them, but you definitely see it at Restaurant Depot, which is a local restaurant supply place, which I'll get into later. And we would use those in a pinch, but the best would be getting, go to Bagmakers, bagmakers.com, and they have some pretty good bags there, the thermo totes, and that's the bare minimum. And you're gonna want to make sure the thicker you can get those, the better. Bagmakers has some good ones. There are some cheap Chinese knockoffs that you'll see out there on the internets that are super cheap. There's another company that, depending on where you are, you can go to mealplansupplies.com and get them there. And so bags are pretty important. Now, even if you're delivering, you might be doing, especially for overnight deliveries, you obviously need bags. Hopefully you weren't thinking about trying to get away without bags, but there's some people who are thinking I'm going to try to deliver while the person's still home, so I won't need to get a bag because I'll be able to give it to them, they'll put it right in the fridge. Well, while they're in that route, the average route will be 4 hours, sometimes 6 hours. I don't know what your routes are going to be like, but while that food is not in the safe zone, you're basically risking all of those clients. That person at the end of the route who's had the food in the car the longest, who's going to have the warmest food, it may have been out of the safe zone for hours. All right, so having it in a bag with ice packs, even if you're delivering it to them, they would appreciate it. They would definitely appreciate you going the extra mile. We were doing that when we first started. We deliver right to people who are still there, and we do that in the mornings as well. Now you'll catch somebody in the office, deliver right to them. Even if we know we're gonna give it to someone who's gonna be right in the door. Number one, they might not be there. They may have to run out, and they won't have to make arrangements or call you or do anything if they know it's on ice packs. They'll just tell you, hey, I'll leave the office open, just put it, by my desk or whatever. I gotta run out. And that's fine, because they know it's gonna be on ice packs, and they'll appreciate it. So don't skimp on the ice packs, get the big ones, get the big bags, and then containers. Containers are another thing that's unique to this business. Like I said, none of those other businesses that deal with food really have to worry about this, because even when you think about Chipotle or someone who has to-go containers, if you're thinking about using those, you're in for a bad time, because those aren't meant to be stacked on top of each other with all that weight of different meals you might be stacking. Like in our bags, we can get 5 containers high, and our meals are on the larger side. We do about 12 ounces of food in each container, and some will have more than that. So you're talking like over a pound coming down, so like several pounds coming down on that bottom container, plus ice packs and everything. We're talking several pounds, and now that like bouncing around, or maybe there's another bag stacked on top of it because the guy has like a hatchback and he's stacking on that way or whatever, and the delivery like bouncing around, that compression and everything. Also, maybe the driver drops it down just a little too hard. I remember that was an issue that we were having with one driver, and we just couldn't figure out what it was. We were like, how are like all these meals cracking? And then we realized like, oh, this guy's just dropping them and all the ones on the bottom are cracking. We thought it was something with the containers, but then we're just like, containers these are fine. These never have an issue. Wait, it's just on this route. Oh wait, it's because the numbskull is dropping them. That's something that could be a container issue, could be that guy's fault. But going with flimsy containers, you're asking for it. Also, those lids pop off on some of them very easily. Ours, and I'll tell you which ones we use. Put it in the notes. And sorry, and I'll tell you which ones we use for our main meals, but they have pretty good lids, and they're actually kind of hard to get off. We have people who complain, but what we say is you rather it be hard to take off than easy to take off, because if it's easy to take off, it's gonna pop off in your delivery, and you're gonna have a mess in your bag, and there may be a meal ruined, which means we gotta maybe credit you and refund you, because that's the kind of customer service we have. But at the end of the day, it's still going to ruin your Monday or your Thursday or whatever, especially if it's an item that you love. And even though we're able to refund you or credit you, we're not able to replace it, and you're looking forward to it. So to forego all of that, we opt to give you a lid that's a little bit more difficult to take off. Just use the pads of your fingers, but I love them. They're really solid lids. There are pulp containers out there as well. We are experimenting with a few. And again, I would go to mealplansupplies.com to check out pulp containers, and that again is something where you're going to want to consider. Nowadays, when we started, there weren't really many pulp options, and I remember sorry, I have a little bit of a cold. I remember one of the hydrophobic, like the water repellent, the waterproofing materials that they used to use, I believe was what's that stuff that's embalming fluid? It's an embalming fluid. People are probably yelling this at the screen. Not chloroform, not chlorophyll. Oh man, but yeah, that was in it, and then they moved to now it's cornstarch, formaldehyde. So I knew I would get it if I just started babbling. So formaldehyde is what they used to use. So that was pretty scary. Now it's cornstarch. Obviously the saturation of the material, the pulp material, even though it's eco-friendly, and that's why you'd want to switch to pulp, the saturation of that material and the food being in there for transit is definitely something you want to consider. So you want to make sure it has a good sealant, and you've either done a test or you buy something from mealplansupplies.com because you know that those materials and everything sold there are specifically geared towards meal plan companies, and they've got the logistics and the stacking and the delivery and everything accounted for. And if there's a product that does better at those things or endures those things more effectively, it will be there and it will be the best. So there might be cheaper garbage stuff, but it will cost you in refunds and in reputation. And honestly, the negative Yelp is going to hurt you more than the negative reviews in general are going to hurt you more than the refunds will. So you're like, oh, I'll just refund them if there's an issue. No, we have companies who had no problem refunding them because their drivers were pretty good. At a smaller level, your drivers are normally going to be good. That's another thing you're going to scale, and I'll talk about that more in delivery. But as you grow, the drivers get more lackadaisical. They're less part of the core of the team. They care less about the job. The quality is going to be less. And if your containers aren't up to par, if your bags aren't up to par, you're buying cheap stuff that's falling apart. The zippers are breaking. The handles are breaking. The containers are weak. The lids pop off. You're going to be killing yourself because not only are you going to be giving out refunds and having people challenge the cards and quitting and all sorts of other stuff, but you're going to be having all sorts of review issues. So that is bad news bears. So don't do that. All right. Also, finding those materials when you first start off, you're going to want to make sure it's a consistent source. A lot of companies will require a minimum to make a delivery or to make the delivery worthwhile because you'll be paying this crazy bulk delivery. Because a lot of these things are big. Like the bags, for instance, from bag makers, their shipping is really expensive, but you can get the same bags through mealplansupplies.com actually. Cheaper bags and cheaper delivery, but they're the same bag maker bags. And where was it going with that? Oh, yeah, if you're only buying like X amount of something, like we've been in situations where we spent $1,000 to get bags, and like 500 of it was delivery, and only 500 went for bags. And then we're like, well, we just got to buy more bags, because if we spend, $1,500 on bags, it's still going to be $500 for or it's going to be $600 for the shipping. So let's just take advantage of that. So it's going to suck in the beginning having to do that. Mealplansupplies.com would be able to, I'd say that's probably the best way. You'd get like a box of at least 50. You shouldn't be starting this business if you can't use 50 bags. Because another thing about bags and ice packs, I should go back to bag fees after I discuss this, but bags and ice packs disappear. You don't get them back. So yeah. But finding a supplier who's consistent with the containers, with the bags, with the ice packs, making sure that you're not going to run out. Because if you have to ship and it's 5 days but you need it in 2 days, you can't make shipping go faster. So you want to make sure you've got someone who's consistent, who's always got supply, who can get it to you fast, or if not, you've got to stay ahead of it and keep track of that stuff. Those things you can't get around not having containers. You can't get around not having bags. You can, but it's rough. And you can't get around not having ice packs. But actually, we used to take ice packs there. So I'll get into supplies. This will actually work. These are places where you can go. There are companies around us in Florida. We've got Restaurant Depot. Yeah, Restaurant Depot. And I haven't been there in so long. I used to live there practically. And it's basically like a Costco, but specifically for restaurants. They've got the high shelves and all that stuff. They got these giant freezers and giant refrigerators where they have just rows of meat and dairy and all that stuff. You're just walking this giant freezer, and it's crazy. It sucks when you go in shorts and sandals and you don't think about it, and it's like that's a horrible thing to do at 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday. But that's what we did when we started this. We've literally done everything except for cook. So Restaurant Depot, something like that, if you can find it, where the prices are better, the products are more for a bulk, making for dozens of people instead of a family size kind of thing. And there's a lot of stuff that might be prepped that you can use to your advantage. They probably have a lot more healthier options than when we first started. Now we just get trucks that deliver us stuff here, and then we go to specialty places, but we don't really have to go to the restaurant warehouse kind of place. a Restaurant Depot place too much anymore, but so I haven't checked that out. But check it out. Then a little bit more expensive than that, but probably still going to be cheaper than retail. It's going to be like Costco or Sam's. Costco has very good quality meats, and the prices aren't horrible. Like I said, it's better than the retail. Like if you're in Connecticut, it'd be Stop and Shop. What are the other ones, like Safeway, Publix if you're in South Florida, Winn-Dixie if you're in South Florida. I forget the other one, Eagles. Those places probably aren't going to be as cheap. Actually, I don't know about any of the other ones as like Costco and Sam's, because there's like wholesale membership prices. And the quality, like I said, is pretty good. You can get organic stuff there, and like I know a smaller meal plan company around the corner who we're actually working with, and we're friends with, and we try to collaborate on stuff with. He gets a lot of his supplies from Costco. He goes and shops, and he's still small enough where he's able to shop himself. He doesn't need a truck. He also wouldn't have enough product to do a truck. So those are your options when you don't have a truck. And then there's like GFS, Gordon Food Services. I'm sure there's other companies like this, but Gordon has a retail infrastructure where they have one or two in each county around us, I think. And then they also have the trucks that come out to you. So they're distributors that also have the stores. And what's cool is you can have an account that works at both. So even if you're not big enough to get a truck yet, you'd be able to go to one of their stores and pick up a lot of the supplies, or have them send the supplies there for you to pick them up. So you would take advantage of the price, not get the truck. You have like the supplies waiting for you. Plus, they have a large inventory of stuff that's probably more geared towards catering. There's a lot of healthy stuff. Again, kind of like Restaurant Depot on a much smaller scale and more like a store kind of setup. As far as the aisles, they don't have like the Costco kind of racks. The forklift racks that Costco has, that's what they have in Restaurant Warehouse, the Sam's kind of stuff. Gordon GFS isn't as big. GFS is Gordon Food Supply, and they're not as big, but that is another alternative. Like I said, you can pick it up right from there. And there's some other ones, so just Google restaurant supply places. Don't go retail. Another one down here in South Florida, I don't know how far are they, is Western Beef, I think, is Western Beef or something like that. I remember they're pretty good quality and pretty good price. But again, we have trucks that come right to us now because of the volume that we're at. And you will get there too, where they will come to you and you'll have reps beating down your door. At first, though, it might be hard for them to justify bringing you a truck, but you have to look at it from their perspective. You're small time. If they took on everybody who was small time, their truck would be doing too much driving. Ideally, they want the truck to be full of food and go into one place. And every bit of empty space that they have to fill in that truck makes it a little bit less efficient. So when they got to fit 20 restaurants on there, they rather only have room for 10 because the 10 are ordering more. So they don't want a bunch of small guys, but a lot of them will do it at like $500 or more. But check with your local guys. So back to the bag fees. I should have mentioned that back with bags. Bag fees, ice bag fees. Some companies charge the bag fees up front. We don't. I don't know if that was a smart move, but our whole thing when we started was we were members of meal plan companies, so we wanted to start this as, a member would want it, and a member wouldn't want bag fees because a member would want to be trusted. Don't charge me bag fee until it's late. Don't charge me, I don't know how old you are, but I worked at Blockbuster Video, and you didn't get charged your bag fee, your late video fees until you didn't return your video. So that's how we started. It sucks because we are out the cost of bags when people don't return them and they don't come back. We are this year in our 6th year of business now considering charging bag fees for people who don't return them. We actually even haven't even charged them on the back end. So even after we don't charge them in the beginning, we also haven't charged them when people just don't return them, and it sucks because we spend I would say we spend probably over $1,000 a month on bags. And it sucks because that's something that you should be able to get right back, right? But people just forget to leave them out, and then forget to leave them out again, and then they throw them out instead of leaving a pile embarrassingly sitting on their floor or something like that, or their dog pees on them or something. So expect that. Do what you want. Consider that though. Charge a bag fee up front. $15 maybe would be fair. That should cover, a few bags, so it makes it worthwhile. You're not that you're trying to make money on it, but it allows you to not have to charge someone all the time. So you give someone a warning, like, listen, normally I'm going to charge you $15, but I'm not going to do it this time. But I'm going to note your account that I gave you this free pass, so next time I'm going to have to charge you $15. Is that fair? Right? Okay. So yeah, okay. Sorry, I won't let my dog eat it next time. Then you note the account, and then next time I'll talk about CRMs and ordering systems. I got another video on that. So you have that in your CRM, your client relationship management system, and next time they have an issue, that's when you ding them with the bag fee. So that's a little bit of customer service wrapped in there too. But yeah, those are the crucial materials. Cooking materials, pots and pans, and all that other stuff. That's I don't think anything that I have to get into. That's normal stuff that anybody getting into cooking would understand that they need, and a lot of it that you wouldn't know about right now would be very specific to dishes. And I'll go over our kitchen in another video and show you what kind of arsenal we've got back there, what we invested in as we grew, and what we started off with, and give you an idea of what you need at different stages. But that's all I got for this. I hope it was good for you guys. Please comment below, like and subscribe if you dig it. If you don't, I want to know why. Comment. I'm trying to provide a service for people. I've got a good amount of knowledge. I'm not saying that I'm an expert. I've got 6 years into it, and our company is the highest rated in the state. It's a big state. It's a popular and very competitive state. We've bested a lot of much larger, much more well-funded companies who had millions of dollars. So I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm also telling you, like, I probably know a little bit between my business partner and I. I think we've got this figured out for the most part. And the most important thing to consider is I'm sharing all of our mistakes. So coming from the outside, not being a chef, not being a personal trainer, not being a nutritionist, didn't graduate college, I dropped out of high school. So imagine all the mistakes that I can get myself into. Now, fortunately, my business partner is a pretty clever guy, and he's got 2 masters, and he did college and all that other stuff. So between us, we're actually halfway educated. But we made all the mistakes. Being outsiders really it helped us make all of the mistakes and learn a lot of invaluable lessons. So at the very least, like I said, not an expert in anything other than mistakes, maybe. So this is Carrie, Collie, and Casey signing off from Fit Food Fresh. Don't worry, that guy's paid to be here. He's on duty. Don't feel bad for him. And that's all I got for you. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Check out this little remote. Not necessary at all, because I could easily because this ruins the magic, I could easily hit pause, but I got this remote for nothing. Hope it didn't even work.